Hello, my friends. I'm Patty, the girl with blue energy, and I make videos about mental health. I also have bipolar 1 and ADHD, along with some other mental health issues. So today I'm talking about bipolar rumination, those repeating thoughts that drive you and everyone else crazy. Have you ever had anyone tell you you worry too much or you dwell on things? Do you have issues with overthinking or problem obsessing? Has anyone ever said you just need to let that go or, go with the flow, lady? If you've ever struggled with obsessive thinking or getting stuck on something or have repeating thoughts about something, this is called rumination, and this is a symptom that many of us with bipolar disorder have, along with people who have ADHD, anxiety, and some other disorders. So that's what I'm talking about today. Bipolar rumination and how to stop those repeating thoughts that drive you and everyone else crazy. What is rumination? There are certain animals called ruminant animals because they have several compartments in their stomach where they ruminate or regurgitate food before it's digested. So this is where the term rumination comes from. It basically means regurgitating something. So we will regurgitate our mental thoughts over and over and over and over to try to process them. That is part of our disorder. And a lot of people with bipolar disorder talk a lot. And we will talk a lot about something we are obsessing or OCDing about. So if you're friends with us, you probably experienced us going on and on and on about whatever it is we're overthinking or obsessing about. And this is called rumination. And it can be a distressing symptom because it can keep us up all night overthinking something. And it can be distressing to our friends and family because we will talk about it nonstop. But there is actually a reason why we do this. It's kind of defective brain process. We're actually using the right hemisphere of our brain when we ruminate. So we're trying to think something through. We're trying to solve a problem, but we just kind of get stuck on repeat with things. So we will get stuck in this loop where we're thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it. And sometimes I don't even know if we're aware of how much we're obsessing about it. But our friends and family, they all know, like, you're talking about this nonstop. So I'm going to get into why we do it and some methods for stopping it because it's not good for us and it can create situations in our lives when we overthink or drive everyone in our lives crazy with overthinking and over talking about something. So why do we ruminate? We ruminate for quite a few reasons, and this list is not comprehensive, but these are some of the big reasons why I ruminate and why other people ruminate. We are problem obsessing. We get stuck trying to figure out something, and we will just think about it nonstop and talk about it nonstop, trying to process and come up with a solution. We also do it when we're trying to regulate our emotions. If we're trying to calm down about something, we will talk about it repeatedly, trying to calm down. We might call all our friends and talk about the same thing over and over. If we need closure, like we just had a breakup or we've just experienced a loss, we will talk about it repeatedly until we start to have some sort of closure about it. A lot of people with bipolar disorder will get obsessed with a person in their relationship. And if there's a breakup, we will talk about it repeatedly nonstop until we finally feel better or have moved on. Some other reasons why we do this is because a lot of us are overachievers or perfectionists or really hard on ourselves. So if we make a mistake, we will think about it and think about it and think about it and go on and seek out people to talk to reassure us. And they'll say, hey, it's okay. And we'll still keep talking about it. And finally, there's a couple other reasons. One, anxiety. Most of us or a lot of us have anxiety, and anxiety can cause somebody to ruminate. But another one that I've talked about in other videos is when we feel out of control. I refer to this as bipolar spinning or a spin cycle. When we feel out of control, we will ruminate about something, and then then we'll get upset sometimes about the ruminating because we're thinking about this too much and we can't control how much we're talking about it, and we're trying to stop talking about it. And that will cause us to ruminate and obsess about it even more. So it can be a vicious cycle where we get stuck in this repeating thought mode. Rumination doesn't just cause psychological symptoms, it also puts physical stress on our bodies. Studies have shown that excessive rumination can lead to higher blood pressure, higher cortisol levels, which is our stress hormone, a higher risk of heart disease, and some scientists have been looking into a link between inflammation and rumination. There is a lot of evidence that suggests that rumination can create long-term stress on our bodies. When we ruminate, it can prolong a manic episode or a depressed episode or make it worse. It can exacerbate our anxiety. It can cause physical manifestations like pain. We may get severe headaches or back pain, neck pain, tummy problems from overthinking and over-worrying. And it can cause immune system issues, like we may get physically sick because we're overthinking. There are a lot of physical effects from us over processing and over worrying about something that happened. So this is why it's important, not just so you're not annoying people, but so you're not making yourself sick with your rumination, to work on coping skills to stop doing this. And I'm going to get into that next because this is something I've been working really hard on in my life. And these tips actually work, and I've used them. So I'm going to get into that next. And also, if you have bipolar disorder, can you let me know in the comments, does any of this sound familiar to you? Do you have these problems? The biggest thing I do to stop ruminating, and just in general, is I practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is when you're aware in the moment, you're thinking about your feelings and how your body senses things when things happen. So in the moment, you may identify your feelings, like I'm feeling angry, or I feel really sad right now. And it's where you identify your feelings, and not with any sort of judgment, just identify how you feel and then let that go. So when I start ruminating, what I will do is I will literally, if I'm by myself, I'll say it out loud. But if I'm in a room with people, I will say it in my head. Patty, you're ruminating again. You're ruminating. Why are you ruminating, and what can you do to stop this? And just saying that in my head, making myself aware that I'm doing this again, helps me to stop doing it. And I may have to do this several times within an hour to make myself aware of the fact that I'm ruminating. Think about why I'm doing it. Am I angry? Is something bothering me? Am I trying to solve a problem? Whatever. And then say, what can I do about it? And then I will try to, use one of my other coping skills, which I'm going to talk about next. If I find myself ruminating and I've identified, hey, you're ruminating about this again, then I will say, what can I do? And I will find something to redirect my thoughts on, so I'm not thinking about that. And the best way to stop thinking about something is to think about something else or do something else. For me, distracting myself is one of the best ways to get my mind to shift gears and move on to something else. And I've talked about that in my bipolar spinning video. Like, I may watch a YouTube video or read a book or play a game. Or for me, one of the things that helps me a lot is writing, because I love writing. So even if I'm writing about anything, just writing helps me to start using my brain to do something else, or doing something creative like drawing, if you craft, knitting, crocheting, painting, cooking, something that you're doing with your mind besides thinking about it. If you consciously recognize you're ruminating, find something else to do with your mind so that you're not obsessing about the thing you're obsessing about. Another thing I do when I find myself ruminating is I practice deep breathing. So if I recognize, hey, you're thinking about this again, or you're talking about this again, I will pay attention to my feelings, and then I will practice deep breathing. Just And I might do that 3 or 4 times, and it helps me to center myself, and then I can move on. Another thing I do, not just to relieve the rumination, but to help me with stress, is I journal. I either write, or I've also talked about I make video journals, but writing is my main way of getting my emotions out. Now, when I journal, I try not to use my journal as a venting outlet, because I found that I'm just ruminating all the more when I start writing why I'm pissed off, because that's a lot of the time why we're ruminating. We're angry about something and we don't want to speak it out loud, so we will just go over it in our head over and over. So instead of writing in the journal what I'm mad about and how someone made me feel, a lot of times I will write how I feel about the rumination, how I feel about my overthinking, why I'm doing it, like thinking it through and writing that out. And that process of writing it helps me to, one, identify that I am ruminating, help me process that, and help me to stop doing it. This one you've probably heard before. In fact, I'm sure that at least 1 or 2 of your friends and family tell you to go exercise or go take a walk or get some physical movement to get feeling better. And you know what? It's sometimes really annoying when you're in the midst of your overthinking, depressive rumination episode to have someone tell you, you should go take a walk. Like, I don't want to take a walk, or you may feel like they're oversimplifying things. But the truth is, exercise almost always lifts your mood. And if you take a long walk and get some physical movement, there's a good possibility that not only will your mood be lifted, but you'll stop ruminating about whatever it is you're ruminating about. And there's science to support this. There's a research study that I wrote about. There's in my blog, I'm including a link to that in the description, because I always write a blog post with my videos. But there is a study in Frontiers in Psychology where they took 129 inpatient patients and had them do some exercise. After just one session of exercise, almost everybody felt better than they did before. And it helped them also to stop ruminating. So don't count this one out. If you're ruminating, go take a walk or go do some exercise. It will stop the cycle and it'll make you feel better. So this one's a little new, but I've been doing this a lot. I have been listening to self-hypnosis audios, and there's actually some science to why hypnosis helps. It helps to implant things into your subconscious. That's kind of the hokey pokey way of saying it, but there is some science, and I've been doing this regularly. I have one site that I really like because the lady her audios are female focused and she has a really soothing voice. She has one called Life is Easy that I listen to a lot, and it helps me to both stop overthinking something and to relax. And it's just a really soothing thing that I do that helps me de-stress, and it helps me to quit ruminating. Okay, last one, and this one is really important for all of us with bipolar. We need a lot of self-care, self-love, and self-compassion. So I get really frustrated because, by the way, I'm turning 50 in the next month, and I've been dealing with this disorder a long time, and I'm always like, I do really well for a while, and I think I finally kicked this stuff. I don't act bipolar anymore, and then I have an episode, which I recently had an episode of rumination and overthinking, getting obsessed with something, and I ended up getting frustrated and crying in front of a bunch of people, and I felt really embarrassed and like, here you are acting bipolar again. Everyone knows you're bipolar. And then I was ruminating about what everybody thought of me. So you have to have a lot of self-love when you have bipolar disorder. You have to forgive yourself because we do have problems with emotion regulation. We do ruminate. Even when you put a concerted effort into it, it's probably going to happen here and there. But if you keep practicing these mindfulness techniques and being self-aware and working on it, it gets better and you stop doing it so much. If you have bipolar disorder, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Do you ruminate? Does this sound familiar to you? Are any of my tips new or helpful to you? Let me know what you think. And I'd also like to hear your own tips if you have any, because sometimes the tips we come up with are better than the ones therapists tell us about. So I'd love to hear your comments. And I hope you guys have noticed I'm really working hard on improving my video editing. I have recently updated my website, growwithblueenergy.com. I hope you will go check that out. I've updated my YouTube channel, and I am going to be making several new videos that will be coming out hopefully this week, but definitely over the next week or two. A lot of you guys have left me some good comments on some of my videos, like talking too much and interrupting. I've done some research on that, and I'm working on it myself. So if you're an over talker or have problems with that or interrupting, stay tuned, because I actually have real advice that's actually helpful. Instead of what I've read so far is pay attention to social cues. Well, we do that and we still keep talking. So I have some better tips for you. And I'm also going to talk about the physical symptoms and the pain that a lot of us experience from bipolar disorder. It is not in your head. I've done a lot of research on it, and I'm going to be making some videos on that soon. So I would love to hear what you think, and I will be checking in with you guys again soon. Thank you so much for all of your support. I love hearing your comments and your feedback, and this channel is giving me so much joy. So I appreciate you guys that are supporting me and who have subscribed and left me comments.